Hi, this is the start of a series that I'm going to start doing where it's basically me talking about the basics of F1, including vocabulary that some people might use, certain events that have happened throughout F1 that many people talk about, and about the teams. So this is the first video, so there's nothing big that's going to be happening. I had a bit of a more informal one where I did make this Williams car. Maybe I'll do some of this talking about the teams, but that one was very informal. I didn't really have much information, so I might just rehash the information maybe next time. But today we're just going to talk about basic Formula One vocabulary that you might know about, that you might not know about since it is so specific to the sport, or because you're just new. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be painting my nails. I tried just now, but it didn't really work out. So first one we're going to do is more pertaining to the teams, and then afterwards we're going to talk about things that are more driver specific or race specific. These are just about teams. So one of the championships that will be referred to very constantly throughout F1 will be the WCC. This stands for the World Constructors Championship, and it sounds a little bit weird and scary at first, but constructor really is just the teams. So this would be currently the 10 teams of the 2025 grid competing against each other. They take the sum of their two drivers' points and they put it together, and they use that as their points in the championship. The current leader as of the 17th of August 2025 during the summer break is McLaren with 559 points. The second championship that you'll hear quite a bit is the World Drivers' Championship, or the WDC. This is the one that most people might know about, where the drivers are pit against each other, even if they are in the same team, with their individual points. The current leader right now is Oscar Piastri of McLaren with 284 points, which is, I think, just about half of McLaren's actual points. Next thing is the Grand Prix. This is abbreviated to GP quite a bit. This just talks about the races. So you'll hear, Miami GP or the Monaco GP. These just refer to the Grand Prix and the races. So that one's quite basic. Next one is about the livery, which is how a car will look like. So many cars are known for their livery. McLaren is one of them. I keep bringing McLaren up, but they're such a good example of a lot of things. This time around, they're known as Papaya because their livery is orange. It's just what the car looks like, but these can be changed. They are not stationary. They are not stagnant, based on special events or even sponsorships. Recently, I don't have it, but Ferrari has a mostly red body, but they've got a blue circle on it for HP, as in the computer company. Most people think it's quite ugly, but one specialized livery that I know a lot of people liked were Miami GP Racing Bulls for 2025, where they made it all pink. I think in terms of livery, Racing Bulls does quite well. For Silverstone this year, they had the graffiti, and I thought that looked really cool. So that's what my nails look like right now. Nothing special, just, and then we're gonna now paint them. This is being filmed on an iPhone 13, so it's not very good quality, but it's okay. Next important part of the team is the team principal. The most famously referred to team principal, I think, would be Toto Wolff, or prior to the season, maybe Christian Horner, because people know about how controversial he can be. Toto Wolff for Mercedes, Christian Horner formerly for Red Bull. This is somebody who manages and makes decisions for the team. Obviously, they can't make decisions like strategy or anything like that, but this is the public face of the team. If the team is ever at the center of anything, they're the ones to respond to it, basically. And yeah, so that's the team principal. They have one of the bigger jobs. Normally, the team principal is also the CEO, but that's not always the case. Like in McLaren's, McLaren again. McLaren's position, Zach Brown is their CEO, but Andrea Stella is their team principal. That's my pinky nail done. Next one is, this one's not referred to a lot, but people will refer to the racing series that are part of it, the feeder series. So these feeder series are just meant to help prepare aspiring drivers for F1. These are normally things like Formula 2, Formula 3, and more recently F1 Academy. Yeah, you know, this is basic stuff, really. There are others like F4, but people don't normally refer to them a lot. The nails are not meant to be perfect, much like your knowledge on F1 is just meant to look, it's just meant to survive. Drive to survive. Teams within these feeder series are different from the teams in F1, but most current F1 teams have driver academies that how do I explain it? That the drivers in the feeder series are students of. So, but the popular teams that most people talk about, oh no, that's too much, are High Tech, Campos, and Prema. Prema has the highest success rate of transferring drivers over to F1. And yeah, not much I can talk about with the feeder series. Next one. Next one would be the grid. The grid is just the starting position of all the drivers on a track right before the race starts. But colloquially and shorthand, it is used to refer to the current drivers of a certain season. So you will hear people refer to maybe the 2013 grid, which consisted of Vettel, Schumacher, Raikkonen, Rosberg, Hamilton, Button, I think was still at the time. But the 2025 grid is the current grid of drivers. Okay, next one about the drivers is, this one will come up a lot in this season because of the amount of them there are. This word is rookies, which is a normal sports term actually, but it's usually referred to people who are new to the grid or are in their first full season of F1. Because if you notice, people who are considered rookies this year, like Oliver Behrman and Liam Lawson, did drive for a short while last season. Oh my god, that's too much. I really don't know how much nail polish I should be putting onto my own nails. The next three terms normally refers to where the team stands in the points. So at the very bottom, there are the back markers or the corner teams. These are used to refer to teams who don't usually make it into the points. If you don't know, the point system within F1 is position 1 to position 10 normally do get points. Position 11 onwards do not get any points. So normally back markers will be from position 11 onwards, and they do not achieve any points within a race. The next are the midfield team. These are teams that go for lower point giving positions such as P4 to P10. So they do not really make it onto the podium. Sometimes they do, but they don't usually. One important example for this year is, sorry, I should have given an example. Back markers are usually people like teams like Haas and Sauber, who will be known as Audi next year. Midfield teams are usually people like Williams, who consistently get P6, about P6, P8. That's what they've been getting quite frequently this year. And the last one are the race leaders / front runners. It's in the name. Teams that are usually leading the race, and more notably the Constructors' Championship, and get the higher point positions like P1 to P13. So that's one hand done, and that's one section of vocab used, okay? So we're gonna move on to my right hand, which is obviously not gonna look as good because I'm using my left hand to paint, but that's okay. Not everything has to be perfect. So these are more about the race themselves or things slightly outside of the teams. First one should be easy. This is called pole. Pole usually means you're the first starting on the grid or something else, you know? Like after qualifying, if you get first on the starting grid, oh, pole position, you know? And then there are the three components to a race weekend. Race weekends are from Friday to Sunday, as the name suggests, and are weekends where races take place. Okay, let's do this. So Friday is free practice, normally referred to as FP, and there are 3 rounds, and each round is a session long, and is how the team and the driver figure out what exactly they can do to get them the most amount of points or succeed within that track. They get themselves acquainted with the track. And then FP3 happens on Saturday, right before qualifying, and it's the last time that final changes can be made to the car. Right before qualifying happens on a Saturday, so on the second day of the race weekend. There are 3 rounds of qualifying, just like with FP, but this time there's Q1, which is 18 minutes, Q2, which is 12 minutes. Q2 is 15 minutes, Q3 is 12 minutes. In Q1, 1 and 2, the 5 slowest drivers get knocked out to determine where they start on the grid for Sunday. Q3 is where the last 10 drivers will be placed, following the same rule of fastest gets pole position, so they will start first on the grid. So for example, the slowest person in qualifying 1 would start 20th. I'm not sure how it'll work next season, but this is how it's been working ever since there have been 20 drivers on the track. I'm so scared. Okay, next thing is a sprint. So what you need to know about this one is that this is a shorter version of the race, and there are no pit stops involved. It is just 100 kilometers, and it's more dynamic. People do technically get points for it for the WDC, but it's not as important. Well, it's important, but it's not as important to the WDC for some teams as it is to some others. Places that have sprint are usually Spa in Belgium and China. They all have sprint. See, not perfect, but it looks nice. Then obviously there is the race itself, which happens on a Sunday. Another important part of the race is the pits. So the pit lane is a lane adjacent to the actual track. So let's imagine that this is the track, right? This would be the pit lane. It comes in and out of the track, and this is where teams set up their garages. It's where cars go and get serviced. Oh, wait, I forgot to mention something. In between qualifying and the race, cars are put into park firm/park firmer, where teams are not allowed to make any adjustments to it after they are put in there. If you do need to make an adjustment and it's major or anything of the sort, you will have to start, your car will start in the pit lane. And you might ask, oh, how do they start in the pit lane? But in qualifying, they got like, let's say like with Lewis Hamilton, he had to start in the pit lane, but he got P16. So they will technically come out in order of how they would have gone. So he was P16, and I think Carlos Sainz got P18. So they came out of the pit lane in that order, but they were still behind the rest of the grid. Drivers are required to start slower, to be slower in the pit lane, and if not, you'll get a penalty for it. There is a certain number of kilometers they must stay under, and I don't quite remember what it is, but yeah, that's it. So next one is the one-stop rule. This is a slightly newer rule where all drivers every single Grand Prix will have to make at least one stop at the pits. If not, I think they're DSQ'd, I think they're disqualified. However, in the Monaco Grand Prix, you might have heard there was a newly installed rule where they have to take 2 pit stops instead. What else can I talk about the pit lane? Pit stop might be obvious. This is where the tires get exchanged for different things. As you can see on this Williams car, I'm not sure if this is a type of tire. This might be a wets, but every Grand Prix, teams choose 3 different tires. They're normally soft, hard, or medium. Oh goodness, look at those nails. And they are all different colors. Hard is, I always get this confused. But anyways, hards are the most durable, but they are the slowest to heat up, so it takes a while. Soft are the fastest, but they're quite slippery and they deteriorate faster. Medium is a nice little in-between, basically. Now, with the pit lane, not only can you pit stop, but you can also make a few strategies out of it. If a pit stop is timed perfectly, let's say Williams. Can you see it? Okay. Scrat, right? So let's say Williams is... No, I want Williams to win, actually, so Scrat goes in front. Williams is here, right? Scrat's in front. Let's say he's like a different team. And they tell their Williams driver to pit. They pit, do a really quick pit stop change. And sometimes, if they're lucky and it's timed really well, the Williams will come out of the pit lane in front of whichever car this is. That's called an undercut. That's an amazing strategy that very many people try and use, but it's very hard to do successfully because of the fact that there's so many people involved with it. Prior to Grand Prix starting, the drivers take a formation lap. So this is a lap before they get into the actual grid positions. Oh no, that's a lot messier than I thought it was. To get into their actual grid positions, to warm up their tires, just so just so that when the race starts, that they are actually ready to go. There's not much else to really talk about. One thing that some people will talk about is someone's race engineer. This is usually just a person talking in the driver's ear. So let's say, oh, I need her to make a pit stop. The race engineer would tell the driver, you need to make a pit stop. Or colloquially and shorthandedly, they do go box, box, which means they have to drive into the pit lane and just go for it. Race engineers are not always the one to make the strategy calls. Most of the time the driver can be. But sometimes the race engineers don't really listen. Something that might come up quite a bit is a wag. A wag is not F1 specific, it's a very sports thing, but it's the wife and girlfriend of a driver. So this would be any partner to any driver. Usually people don't love talking about wags because it tends to be quite problematic. Recently there has been controversy, I guess, around Lando Norris and his partner, but I think I'm going to talk about that in the McLaren video eventually. So yeah, oh yes, I actually did need to talk about it, but I didn't get to it. So I'm going to show you the general parts of the car. Not much. So I've already introduced to you the wheels, right? There's 4 of them. And yes, normally whenever they get exchanged, they're all the same one, unless you are Alan Prost, which at that point you do deserve the nickname Professor, where he realized something about the track, and so he made one half of, so maybe like these 2 tires were soft and these 2 were mediums. No, not mediums, hards, because he realized that the track was slightly different. Obviously on the left and the right side might be a little bit different, especially due to weather like heat and rain. But talking about the rest of the car, so things that you will hear commonly being broken off is your front wing and your back wing. This is normally where contact happens. This is one of my favorite bits. This is kind of new, actually, in all of Formula 1 history. It only really appeared maybe about 9 years ago, nearly a decade ago, after, unfortunately, Jules Bianchi's crash. So, this is called a halo. It's this piece of metal that goes around a driver's head. It is one of the protective measures that was taken after people and drivers started pointing out that the car is not safe for people who drive under very fast conditions. Nothing is protecting their head except for a helmet. People like Toto Wolff thought it was an aesthetic disaster and didn't really like it. So this halo, that protects people. One person that I can think about is I think Lewis Hamilton. After Esteban Ocon's entire wheel basically went over his head, and had the halo not been there to prop the wheel up, his head would have been crushed. Another person, funnily enough, that protected was Esteban Ocon himself, who crashed into a wall and apparently started peeing blood the next day, but the halo saved him. And I think the halo is actually one of the best inventions of modern F1 history. And the rest of the body, besides from the front wing and the back wing, is called the chassis. So this was the chassis. These are usually to be aerodynamic. If you can see, they're slightly curved, so they're aerodynamic. Obviously F1 teams are not allowed to copy other teams' ideas. They are allowed to look at the superficial exterior, but they're not allowed to look at the plans, or else there will be penalties, fines, even a disqualification as a team. So yeah, those are the basics of F1, and next episode we'll be getting into the teams, the drivers, their team principles, and a lot of other things. So yeah, bye. Also, if anyone wanted to see how my nails looked, that's what they look like. Obviously, my right hand is messy, but I will get practice and it'll look better next time. So, bye everyone.